A Universe in a Heartbeat. By Elton Gar. Firo gazed out over the grand city, his heart heavy with the weight of the impending destruction as he felt the touch of the minds of the thousands of inhabitants. It was strange. He had been able to touch the minds of people his entire life, but as the convergence came into alignment, it amplified his telepathic bond with the people of his world. It had been doing so for almost 2 months, but it had only grown strong enough to be unavoidable in the last hours. The fear of the chaos to come assaulted his mind from every direction, though it was still possible to hold most of it out. But while the fear of everyone else could be held at bay for a few more hours, his own was impossible to avoid. He had known this day was coming his entire life. The day when the harmonic convergence, which in every other instance brought peace and harmony to their world for another 87 years, became the once-in-2,000-year cataclysmic convergence. He sat in the doorway of the Great Ark, a massive stone and metal dome he had helped build. Inside, it contained everything necessary to rebuild civilization. In a few hours, it would lock for 100 years to protect it from the chaos that would come. It would then open in hopes that what was left of their society would recover faster this time. Maybe, just maybe, the next civilization would understand what had caused the previous collapse and prevent it from happening again, or at least understand it well enough to mitigate the devastation. This hope was why he was here instead of with his family. Each of the 100 arks scattered across the world had a caretaker. As the cataclysm grew stronger, they would retreat into these massive structures and hopefully resist the madness long enough to record what happened to give clues to those who came after. Thinking about his family, he reached out with his mind. Normally, such a feat would be impossible, but the convergence was enhancing everyone's abilities.
Is our family safe?
Firo asked, his mental voice reaching his wife. He knew her mind almost as well as his own, though even she sometimes held back. Everyone was entitled to their own thoughts, after all.
The home is secure, and I prepared enough food for several weeks for the children. Your mother and grandmother chose to stay in their own homes but have spoken to us as well,
his wife replied. The meals were a new addition, but he understood. From the scant information that had survived, it was believed that young children had a better chance of surviving than adults. Yet, it wasn't that simple. No one knew if the insanity would make people dangerous to those same children.
The doors to the Ark will close soon, and I don't know if it will stop me from speaking to you or not,
Firo said, including his children in the message.
We are proud of you and what you are doing. And if for some reason the cataclysm doesn't happen, we will rescue you,
his wife said. She, along with about half the world, was convinced that the cataclysmic convergence was just a myth. Her husband's unwavering belief didn't seem to shake her certainty, nor the growing power of the convergence. His hands trembled, not from the effort of speaking to his wife, but from the fear and horror of this day. He fled their minds before his emotions could infect the children. Sharing emotions was always dangerous, more so during any convergence. Alone again, he tried to pretend his wife was right. He couldn't quite believe there wouldn't be a cataclysmic convergence, but for a few minutes, he could imagine they had another 87 years. He could live out his life, watch his children grow, and see them have children of their own. He even imagined that the joy of a harmonious convergence. He had never seen one, but he knew his history well. Even the last convergence, when people knew the end was coming, had been a time of rebirth and renewal. The minds of everyone in the world had touched, ending wars and the careers of the most power-hungry politicians and business leaders. But it was more than just those world-changing events. It was said that people who experienced a harmonious convergence became kinder, more empathetic, and peaceful for the rest of their lives. Only after those who hadn't experienced it became adults did the chaos of the world return. Some believe the true cataclysm was simply the absence of convergence, that going so long without one caused the corrupt and power-hungry to destroy the world. That theory, at least, had already been proven wrong. Firo, realizing this, typed it into the computer. It immediately began to carve the message onto the walls of the Ark. It reminded him of the arks left by the last civilization, filled with art, stories, and music. He had seen some of it, but while there was beauty in the art and music, their society was so different from his own that it barely made sense. He suspected this ark might be the same for those who came after. With every passing minute, the convergence grew stronger. Unlike the harmonic convergences that lasted about an hour, this one would stretch over a full day, no stronger than any convergence for most of that time, as the planets and stars creating it slowly aligned and then slowly parted. Now, he could feel the city more fully than he normally felt his own family. The connection was strange, a blend of familiar warmth and alien vastness. He could feel some minds leading. Few, if any of them, were the politicians and business leaders of his city. They were serene minds that didn't hold on to the fear, and the courageous who felt the fear but weren't stopped by it. It was those who held on to hope and spread it, but it was also those who were most fearful and most angry, teenagers who had barely started their lives believing they would end, or those who had always denied this day would come. But it wasn't just emotions. He could feel the memories of thousands of people weaving into his mind, each one a vivid burst of emotion and imagery. Some were mundane, some profound, but all were intensely personal, now shared through the amplified telepathic bond. The first memory that surfaced was of a child, perhaps no older than 7, clutching a Zinta orb at a bustling festival. The scent of roasted finja seeds and sweet grolla filled the air, mingling with the joyful hum of vibrant music. The child's heart swelled with excitement as he eyed the towering luminary spires, the anticipation almost too much to bear. His mother's hand was warm and reassuring, a solid presence in the chaotic whirl of the festival. Another memory emerged from an elderly woman, sitting in her small garden. She was surrounded by blooming glornas, the colors vibrant against the purple foliage. Her gnarled hands gently cradled a hologram of her late partner. She felt a bittersweet mixture of love and loss, her heart aching with the memory of their life together. The twin suns were warm on her face, and for a moment she felt his presence beside her, comforting and enduring. A young individual's memory flickered next. They were in a crowded learning dome, nervously tapping their stylus against the desk. It was the day of the great examination, the culmination of years of study and effort. The air was thick with tension, but they felt a quiet determination. They glanced at the chrono display, took a deep breath, and began to write, the weight of their future pressing down on their shoulders but also propelling them forward. A mother's memory followed. She was in a birthing chamber, exhausted but elated. Her newborn daughter lay in her arms, tiny fingers curling around hers. Tears streamed down her face as she touched both the body and the mind of the infant, her heart overflowing with a love so fierce it was almost painful. Her partner stood by her side, his mind along with them, equally awestruck, the miracle of new life rendering them both speechless. Then, a warrior's memory surfaced. They were in the midst of a chaotic battlefield, one of the conflicts that had erupted in recent years, as fear of the cataclysm drove people to desperate measures. The sounds of weapons and explosions all around were deafening. Fear and adrenaline coursed through them as they fought to protect their comrades. Amid the chaos, they found a moment of clarity, a sense of duty and honor that steadied their shaking hands and guided their actions. The camaraderie with their fellow warriors was a bond forged in the crucible of battle, unbreakable and profound. A young artist's memory came next. They were on stage, the spotlight harsh and bright, illuminating them in front of an expectant audience. They felt the familiar rush of nerves, but also the thrill of performance. As they began to sing, their voice strong and clear, they felt a connection to the audience, an electric bond that transcended words. Music was their passion, their lifeline, and in that moment, they felt invincible. Finally, he saw a memory from a middle-aged being, standing at the edge of a crystal cliff, overlooking a vast, shimmering sea. The wind whipped through their fur, the salt air sharp in their lungs. They felt a deep sense of peace and perspective, the endless horizon reminding them of the infinite possibilities in life. It was a moment of clarity, of understanding their place in the world, and it filled them with a quiet strength. Each memory added to the tapestry of emotions swirling within Firo. The convergence was not just amplifying their fears and anxieties, but also their hopes, dreams, and the simple beauty of their everyday lives. The collective consciousness of the city was a mosaic of experience, rich and complex. This was, in every way, what he had hoped for a harmonic convergence to be. The people of this world, for one glorious moment, all understanding each other. Over the next hour it grew stronger, but in many ways his own mind came back to itself. He watched the memories as he might watch a movie. Each of them part of his memories now. And then the memories began to intertwine, creating new memories. Not different memories, but a fuller tapestry, as people who had been at the same events began to interconnect their understanding. The child's excitement at the festival merged with the mother's protective watchfulness, the vendor's pride, and the vibrant energy of the festival-goers. The elderly woman's memories of her late partner intertwined with the admiration of her neighbors and the carefree play of children nearby, creating a richer, more complex recollection of her life. The young individual's examination experience became a shared event, enriched by the supportive thoughts of their classmates and the pride of their instructors. The mother's birthing experience blended with the calm efficiency of the medics and the hopeful anticipation of waiting family members, making the moment more profound. The warriors' memories of battle intertwined with the perspectives of their comrades and even their enemies, creating a multifaceted view of their unity and sacrifice. The young artist performance merged with the emotions of the audience, the support of the backstage crew, and the pride of their mentor, making the moment more powerful. The middle-aged being's peaceful moment at the Crystal Cliff combined with the reflections of others who had visited the same spot, each with their own reasons and interpretations, adding layers to the scene. People who were angry saw the truth of what happened by combining their understanding. The diverse interpretations of events became a single, multifaceted truth, enriching the collective memory and fostering a deeper understanding and empathy. The convergence was achieving what Firo had always hoped, a profound shared understanding among the people of his world. This unity, even if temporary, was a glimpse of what a harmonious convergence could achieve. It gave him a sliver of hope amidst the impending chaos, a belief that perhaps one day, such unity could last beyond a single convergence. It was all but impossible for Firo to imagine how this could ever become anything bad or dangerous. Even the minds of the most fearful and angry began to calm and instead be filled with awe and profound joy. And then it grew stronger once again. The minds of the lesser beings on their world began to connect, forming a network that was both a single consciousness and a billion separate minds. They added their own emotions and strange thoughts. They understood it less, but they didn't fear it. Firo felt the hum of the zern, small iridescent insects flitting about with seemingly erratic yet purposeful movements. Their thoughts were a blend of instinct and curiosity, a ceaseless search for nourishment and light. The joy they felt when finding a patch of luminescent nectar was a burst of pure, unfiltered elation. He sensed the deep rhythmic pulses of the gorals, massive, lumbering creatures that roamed the forests. Their thoughts were slow and deliberate, filled with a sense of ancient wisdom and a connection to the land that spanned generations. They moved with purpose, each step a testament to their endurance and strength. The swift, darting minds of the Corvics, sleek aquatic beings that danced through the underwater realms, filled his awareness. Their thoughts were quick and agile, a constant interplay of communication and navigation through the depths. They reveled in the freedom of their watery domain, their movements a symphony of grace and speed. Firo felt the collective awareness of the Flen, bird-like creatures with vibrant plumage soaring high above. Their thoughts were a chorus of exuberance and discovery as they explored the skies. They communicated in flashes of color and song, each note a testament to their unity and freedom. The Uruks, creatures that resembled great winged lizards, added a primal raw energy to the collective consciousness. Their thoughts were fierce and protective, a constant vigilance over their territory and kin. They shared memories of battles fought and won, of nests built high on cliffs, safe from predators. As the minds of the lesser beings joined the convergence, the sense of unity deepened. Each creature, from the tiniest zern to the mighty Uruk, contributed its own unique perspective, enriching the tapestry of shared consciousness. The collective emotions of awe, joy, and curiosity spread like wildfire, calming even the most fearful and angry minds among the people. Firo marveled at the profound beauty of this moment. It was as if the entire world had come together in a single, harmonious symphony. The interconnectedness of all life, from the grandest beings to the smallest insects, was a testament to the incredible diversity and unity of their world. For a brief shining moment, Firo could see the potential for a world where understanding and empathy were not just fleeting experiences, but enduring truths. And then the full force of the cataclysm hit him. His mind seemed to explode outward, connecting not just to the people of his own world, but to the inhabitants of 1,000 worlds. The flood of consciousnesses, some incomprehensibly alien and others disturbingly familiar, overwhelmed his senses. Firo felt the searing intensity of a star being, a massive sentient sun with thoughts that blazed in patterns of plasma and nuclear fusion. Its awareness was a constant, roaring furnace of creation and destruction, a symphony of solar flares and magnetic storms. The concept of time for this entity was vast and cyclical, incomprehensible in its scale. Next, he touched the mind of a species that lived within the gaseous layers of a colossal gas giant. These beings, amorphous and constantly shifting, communicated through harmonic vibrations and pressure waves. Their thoughts were fluid and ever-changing, a blend of color and sound that expressed emotions and ideas in a continuous ethereal dance. Firo encountered the collective consciousness of a hive mind on a distant frozen moon. This race of crystalline entities shared a single, unified mind, their thoughts resonating through the crystal lattice of their bodies. Their existence was one of cold logic and precision, devoid of individuality, but rich in a communal understanding that spanned their entire species. Then he connected with a mind from a planet teeming with sentient flora. These plant beings communicated through chemical signals and slow, deliberate movements. Their thoughts were deep and ponderous, rooted in the earth and the passage of seasons. They viewed the world through a lens of growth, decay, and rebirth, a cycle of life that was both tranquil and eternal. Firo felt the chaotic, rapid-fire thoughts of a small, insect-like creature from a bustling metropolis on a distant world. Its mind was a flurry of sensory input, a constant stream of data as it navigated a complex urban environment. The creature's awareness was sharp and fragmented, a mosaic of sights, sounds, and smells that painted a picture of a vibrant, teeming city. He brushed against the mind of a being from a world of endless oceans, a creature that swam through the depths with thoughts that echoed through the water in pulses of sonar. Its awareness was a serene expanse, a vast underwater landscape filled with the songs of countless marine beings. The ocean was its universe, and its mind was attuned to every current and wave. Finally, Firo touched the minds of beings that felt disturbingly familiar. These creatures walked on two legs and had a form much like his own. Their thoughts were filled with the mundane and profound, a mixture of hopes, fears, and dreams that echoed those of his people. Yet there were elements that were alien: the sound of rustling leaves, the scent of rain on grass, and the touch of sunlight on bare skin. Their world was one of green forests, vast plains, and deep oceans, teeming with life in a way that was both similar and starkly different from his own. The sheer vastness and strangeness of these minds began to break Firo. The flood of alien thoughts and emotions was too much, threatening to shatter his sense of self. He felt the same breaking happening to the people of his world, their collective consciousness straining under the weight of these incomprehensible connections. The door of the Ark slammed shut with a resounding thud, sealing him inside. Yet, it was not enough to protect him from the onslaught. The alien minds continued to flood his awareness, a relentless tide that battered at the walls of his sanity. Firo clung to his sense of self, desperately trying to hold on to the fragments of his own thoughts amidst the overwhelming cacophony. As the convergence reached its peak, Firo could feel the collective consciousness of his world beginning to fracture. The unity they had felt just moments before was unraveling, replaced by chaos and confusion. The minds of his people were being torn apart, their identities disintegrating under the pressure of the alien connections. In the midst of this mental maelstrom, Firo struggled to hold onto his own mind long enough to convey his experience to the future. The vastness of the universe, the symphony of alien minds, the beauty and chaos, it was all too much to capture in mere words. Desperation and awe intertwined as he attempted to leave behind a message that could transcend time and understanding. With trembling hands, Firo managed to type his final thoughts into the computer, hoping that the future generations would grasp the profundity of what he had witnessed. His mind, fragmented and overwhelmed, found solace in the poetry of the moment. The stars sing in 1,000 tongues, and I have heard their whispered secrets. A universe in a heartbeat. A symphony of minds. Beauty, chaos, unity. We touched the infinite, and it touched us back. As the last words were carved into the walls of the Ark, Firo felt his consciousness unravel along with the vast majority of the people of his world. The alien mind still battered at the edges of his fleeing sanity. But in that final fleeting moment, he knew he had done his part. His message was a testament to the vastness and wonder of the universe. It was a beacon of hope and a warning, a reminder that the convergence was both a gift and a challenge. He hoped that someone would understand. Author's note.
Some of you may notice some resemblance to one of the most famous science fiction stories of all time. This is in fact a bit of a love letter to Nightfall by Isaac Asimov. But I went out of my way not to read it again before I started writing this. So while I remember some of the story, the gaps in my memory should be enough to make this a unique and interesting story. One that I had a great deal of fun writing. In the end, I think it has the same core issue that I always had with Nightfall. I love the idea that seeing the vastness of the universe would change people, but to collapse an entire civilization so completely always felt like a stretch. And I feel the same with this story. It feels like such a vibrant society that was touched by such a profound moment should be able to survive. But perhaps, like so much cosmic horror, it is simply too much for the mind to comprehend, and even something of such beauty will break you. Or perhaps it is simply a moment so powerful that, once it is taken away, it becomes its own sort of torment. One able to rip society apart. That, along with what happens to Firo's children and the people of his world, is left to you. I like to believe that this is a civilization that dies peacefully. One that ends and is reborn, not because there is no other choice, but because having seen so much, it desires nothing more than to be more than it had once been. Or perhaps billions of fractured minds simply tear it apart. If you enjoyed this, then you can get the prose version of it, and more stories every week, along with my thoughts about writing and the world every week by signing up for my newsletter at scifi.com. And for more, you can also visit my Patreon, patreon.com/Elton. Free members get access to stories every week and can vote on the monthly themes for my stories, while patrons at any level get access to over 40 patron-exclusive stories and can vote weekly on what exclusive story I write. Thank you. Elton Gar.